All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Marriage Matters with Ken and Shar. Great to have you in with us. How you doing today, babe?
Doing well. I'm glad that we're here.
It's good to be back, yeah?
It is good to be back. We went on a little vacation, actually a long one for us.
We did.
And we took our whole family. There's 19 of us.
Yep.
Our grandchildren and children and their spouses.
So it's and we're in different. We have one in a different state, and hard to all get together, man.
We all flew somewhere and stayed at a lake house for well over a week. It was hysterical.
It was hysterical. It was fun.
It really was fun. We had a baptism there with 3 of our grandchildren, which
was totally special.
It really was.
Yeah.
It was. I'm just remembering the whole time with just such fond memories. It was wonderful to be together as a family. It doesn't happen that often.
Well, I was going to
say,
the reality is we don't know when we'll get another chance to
No.
do that. We try to, but conflicting schedules and careers and raising kids and their activities, man, it makes it really tough.
The Lord was good, and we're all believers.
Family game night every night, and the kids, all the cousins got along so awesome.
And exhausted, we fell into bed every night and got up to do it again, and it was just so sweet for their hospitality and God's goodness in our life. It was wonderful.
I think one of the most amazing things to me was watching all the cousins. Cousins are just so special. I wasn't raised with any. I have a bunch, but
I
never was with them. I don't know them. I mean, maybe rarely, but these are almost like brothers and sisters when they're together. It's awesome.
It was sweet. It really was. They range. We had 9 in 6 years, and then we have 2 trailers along here, Will and Jack, that are being adopted into our family soon, they're 9 months old.
We're so excited about.
And so we got the 2 babies and then a bunch of older kids. It was so much fun.
It was a blast. It was a blast having the babies, right?
I mean, they're so sweet.
Yeah, just having babies again to hold and hang out. It was really fun.
It is sweet, and they're so sweet too.
Yeah.
So
when
you ask me how I'm doing, I'm really filled up.
You still got a little afterglow going.
It's
awesome.
I do. And I've had time to rest in between then and now. So I'm sleeping now, and it's becoming.
We were shot when we got home. We were wasted. Anyway,
great.
good to be back. This is actually, babe, just real quick, this is our part number 6 of a series we began called So You're Getting Married. It's a tool for premarital couples or couples in love or expecting a soon or forthcoming engagement. This is all the stuff that we really want to get into you before you're married. The whole point here is to try to cut off troubles before bad habits get really ingrained in a marriage.
Well, at least if you're not using these tools now, you'll remember once you do get married or get further in your relationship. Oh yeah, remember we heard this once.
They did talk about this.
This is maybe we should pull out that tool, because I wished we would have had some of these. They're very practical, which I'm very into practical stuff.
Yeah.
Black and white, I can do that.
Well, and this one is really, it's about communication, right? Which is so necessary. I've learned, though I thought of myself as a pretty decent communicator, really, I'm not. I can do so much better. And I think all of us can. How we communicate love to one another is a big deal. Let me just start by saying, and I can't believe it's been this long, but 25 years ago, he's actually a PhD, man named Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages.
And I do think that most people are familiar with this.
Yeah, a lot
It's great.
It made a huge impact. It circulated everywhere, and nowhere more impactful than in the body of Christ, right? So it was a lot of believing couples latched onto this. It made so much sense. It's one of those truths, I guess, that you hear and it leaves you going, I kind of knew that,
right?
But I didn't know I knew it.
You didn't know how to say it.
But it really did resonate. It really lands, right?
I love this.
I do too. So we're going to talk about these love languages. But since then, by the way, there have been plenty of other books that have taken off on this thought to help couples communicate love to one another over a lifetime. One was titled The 8 Languages of Love. I found another one called The 7 Love Languages.
I could probably write one that says the 12 love language.
So, and I don't think the point is that we get this right. I mean, that there is only a certain number. but the point is that every married person, if your spouse is going to really get their head around and comprehend the depth of your love for them, you have got to get bilingual. You cannot just speak or communicate love in one way. It takes a lifetime of learning how my spouse understands love, what makes Charlene, in my case, feel loved and experience love from me, and what makes me, how do I experience love from another person?
And
we're not the same.
And it's not just saying it.
Correct. Not just words.
It's
although
not
words are fundamental, I think.
They are, but you have to have actions to back up your words,
Right.
or they mean nothing.
Right.
So
what we're going to give you, we've landed on 6 of them. In fact, this is pretty fluid. We just added one to commonly what we think of. In fact, again, Gary Chapman's book was The 5 Languages of Love. We've added one that I think is important, added it just over the years. But let's first talk about, babe, how important communicating love is.
Can I say one thing here?
Yeah.
This never ends. This is every day for the rest of your life, is learning how to communicate love to your spouse.
Yeah.
And I think it's so sad when people have the attitude, well, she knows I love her. Well, how do you know she knows you love her?
Well, have you ever asked? How many people have we sat with and talked to in a troubled or difficult, maybe crisis marriage situation, and said, do you believe he or she loves you? And they go,
they don't know.
I don't know. And our thought has always been, is there a greater tragedy in the married world than someone going a lifetime of marriage and your spouse never being fully convinced of the depth or breadth of your love for them? Then that has made you a terrible communicator, because you've had a lifetime to do it and you failed to communicate love in a way that they get.
Right.
Which tragically is more common than we
probably know. It really is. It is more common than you would think it is.
Well, great example. People that we've talked to, this could be a very common conversation. So do you know that Billy Bob loves you? I might ask Susie, and she says, no, I don't. He says, what do you mean you don't know if I love you? You're driving a brand new
gorgeous car.
We just moved into a beautiful house out in this nice part of town. I give you everything you want. She says, yeah, but we haven't been alone together. You work all the time. We haven't been away together. Well,
or you're always on your phone.
He's saying, I love you in a way that he understands love. He's buying her things and giving her gifts, but she understands love very differently. That's not a language that she gets. And so they're like kind of the old proverbial two ships passing in the night.
It's true.
He's saying it in a language, but it's like he's speaking Chinese to a French gal.
Exactly right.
And it just means nothing to them. They
Boy, have we gone through this over the years, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. I think every couple has,
I think so too.
But it leaves us going, okay, I'm doing a terrible job of communicating love to Charlene.
We need to pull that teachable spirit out and still be taught. No matter how old we are, you can always communicate better.
Oh, I'm in constant school. And what makes this so difficult is, I'm going to rat you out here for a minute, babe. Your level, it's like hitting a moving target, man.
Well, it was different when I had children around. I needed a lot of help. So
1 minute it's this, the next minute it's that.
Okay,
You've kept me on my toes for 47 years.
A lot of things have changed in my life over the years, okay?
Okay, so let's talk about this first. I think this is important to establish. One of the ways we kind of get how important the communication of love is the way that God has communicated love for us.
Right.
Bottom line.
Right.
It's like what more can he do? He's devoted 66 books of scripture that are going to stand eternally. The whole world may pass away, but his word will not pass away. And in it, through his word, he screams at fallen humanity, I love you.
I love him
care
for
about
that.
you.
I love him for that.
So let me read a couple verses here just to establish that. If nothing else, what this tells us is communicating love. If it's important to God, it should be important to us who are image bearers of God, right? We should mimic that in that we communicate love to others.
Not only to others and mankind, but to our spouses and families especially.
That's
this
what
is
we're
where
talking
it's
about
very
here.
critical.
You bet. Listen to, this is from John, the beautiful chapter of John, chapter 17. Jesus speaking says, I don't pray for these alone, but for those who will believe in me through their word, that all may be one, as you, Father, are in me and I in you, and that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you sent me. And then he goes on, he says, and the glory which you gave me, I now give to them, that they may be one just as we are one, I and them, you and me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. I remember reading that line as a brand new believer going, you have got to be kidding me. I understand how the Father could adore his Son and have great love for his perfect Son, Jesus, right? But how could he love me the same way that he loves Jesus?
Right.
That just captivated me. And to be honest, it won my heart as a brand new believer that God's love was that overwhelming towards me. In Ephesians chapter 3, verse 14, we read, for this reason, I bow my knees, Paul again wrote this, I bow my knees to the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, from whom the whole family in heaven and earth is named, that he would grant you, this is his prayer, that he would grant you according to the riches of his glory to be strengthened with might through his Spirit in the inner man, and that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able, here we go, get this, to comprehend with all the saints what is the width and length and depth and height, and to know the love of Christ, which passes knowledge. To know, in other words, what is unknowable. Isn't that amazing? To know the love of Christ, which passes knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God.
You know, as you're reading these scriptures, I'm kind of tearing up, just thinking of when your spouse knows how much you really love them and you're on their side and you only want their best, to be loved that way and to be able to love that way.
Isn't that what the human heart longs for?
Yes, it's what my heart longs for, to really know that you love me, that you would die for me. And I really know that. Right. You've demonstrated it many times in our years, and I hope you know that about me. For two people to be married and to know that it's so Christ-like.
Well, yeah,
it is.
I was just about ready to say, and if I have failed at that, and when a husband or a wife fails at communicating love, that there may be no greater failure in life than that. I can't bear that thought that, again, we'd be married. We've been married 47 years, and should the Lord tarry and our health hold out, we could be married 60 to 70. And if that were to happen, to the thought of going 60 or 70 years and you not knowing how much I love you, I can't think of maybe a greater failure in my life at that point, nor a greater success if we have conversations like we just had, where you go, you've done it. Yeah. You've convinced me over all these years that you love me. John wrote in 1 John 3, verse 1, behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called children of God. So number one, it's been so important. Clearly it's important to the Father that he communicates his love toward us. And I want it to be young people, or maybe you're heading into a second marriage. I don't know, a subsequent remarriage.
Or just being married.
Yeah. The bottom line is, take this seriously. Your job, from the minute you've said, I do, look, it's part of your promise, part of your vow. Let's go back to the vow.
Right.
You count on me to treat you in a way that makes you feel loved, honored, and cherished. So that's what we're talking about. How do they feel loved? You've got to communicate that. Right? They won't feel loved just because you put a ring on their finger 25 years ago. Right. So there's this, that's what Shawnee was talking about, I think, babe, when you said earlier, this is daily for life, that we're to communicate love, and it's a challenge.
And it's not cheesy. I think the older you get it in being married, let's say you've been married 15, 20 years, it's like, oh, we don't need to do that kind of stuff anymore. Right. We're not young and in love. It's like, why not? Why do you stop?
Exactly.
At what point do you say, they don't need that anymore, and neither do I?
Right.
No, you need it.
Right.
It's a fresh thing every day, just like the Lord's words to us are fresh every morning.
Yeah.
It's a sweet thing. And we need to be reminded over and over and over again so we don't forget.
Yeah, that old saying, "Look, I told you I loved you when I married you. If I change my mind, I'll let you know. Otherwise, it doesn't work."
That has a very negative connotation too. That doesn't work.
So I want to follow up on this.
Okay.
Other ways. It's not just one way that God is communicating. He hasn't just said it in his word. So it's not just words, right? His participation in our lives, his presence. Look, Charlene will never know how much I love you. Your spouse will never know unless you are present in their life. I mean, mightily present.
Right, with them.
You're doing life with them, hand in hand, decision-making, weeping, having joy, experiencing things together. Remember about the Lord that he didn't demand of humanity, or let's put it this way, Jesus never commanded or demanded of his bride that we ascend up into his world to know him.
Right.
He came crashing into our world and took us to be his own. Look, if you're premarital and you're moving towards a wedding, being present in that life and crashing into their life and participating in it with them is going to be really important. Charlene has participated in everything from my career, if in nothing else, but asking me questions and counseling me and helping me through career decisions and things like that. She's been involved in my life in every way, and I hope I have in hers through raising children and raising them together, achieving goals together, whether that's financial or otherwise, family goals. Listen to Philippians 2, verse 3. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem the other better than himself. And then Paul says this, let each of you look out not only for your own interests, but for the interests of others. Let this mind be in you, which was in Christ. So Paul points to Christ as an example of because of love, crashing into, becoming present in our world because he loves us. So you're going to have to communicate love by being present in each other's life.
I'm thinking of not long ago, I took up some watercoloring, which I'm not an artist, but I am a creative person. And so my friends and I got together and we did some watercoloring, which was a kick in the pants. But and I know Kenny's thinking, oh, I can't believe she's going to go do watercolor. And because he knows how horrible I am at drawing. I'm bad. You've got to say it. I am no artist.
Yeah, right. I don't think you're any worse than anybody else, but it's not your gift.
Well, it isn't. But I loved it so much. And I came home and I showed him this picture that I had, this little painting that I made. And he was so interested in it.
I was flipped out over it.
Well, actually, it was good.
It was awesome.
But he couldn't believe it was good.
Oh, no.
But he was very interested. And I thought, I know he doesn't have any interest of his own for watercoloring or whatever, some of these things.
Yeah, not something I wake up thinking about.
I do a lot of weird things, and I love that you're interested in that. And you didn't look at it like, well, that's stupid, Charlene, but he was interested. And I went, you know what? That communicated something to me.
It communicates love and care.
It communicated that what I'm interested in
is important to me.
He's interested too.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Well, yeah. Well, there you go.
Another way that God's communicated love to us is the promise of an enduring presence, not just his presence, but the promise. Here it is. I will never leave you or forsake you.
Yeah, I love that.
Man, dear one, if you're listening to this, you're going to want to communicate that over and over and over again to your spouse.
And start that at the beginning of your marriage.
Because that vow includes that until what? Death parts us. That's we say that at a wedding.
Yep.
And it needs to be repeated many ways. That promise is central to your vow. I will never leave you or forsake you.
Well, and I think it needs to be repeated many ways because if you let your mind wander into other options, you will go there.
Oh, yeah.
And you need to remind yourself, not only yourself, but your spouse, this is forever.
That's right.
This is forever. There's no back doors here.
Yep.
Which is great to remind yourself of that.
Writing it in notes, speaking it out loud while looking at your husband or wife in the eyes and saying, I will never leave this.
Even in conflict.
No,
especially in conflict.
Especially
because other things are always said in conflict.
Yeah. And then lastly, his sacrifice. I mean, the Bible makes it very clear that God demonstrated his love in Romans 5:8, in that demonstrated toward us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us.
Wow.
John put the high watermark of communicating love when he said, "Greater love has no man than when he lays down his life for his friend."
Right.
So this issue of sacrifice is included in the way that God has communicated love towards us. So let's turn a corner here. We're going to run out of time quick.
Okay.
And let's talk about the 6 languages of love that we can communicate. That we're not God.
Right.
Charlene didn't marry Jesus. She married just an old oil-filled hand.
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
So, but we're going to list them and maybe give a few examples of them. Think of it like this: any way that you're going to communicate love to your spouse is going to happen through one of these 6 ways. You could categorize it in one. Some of them, like if I write Charlene a love note, is that words or is that a gift? Which love language is it? Well, it's both.
Right.
So there's crossover in a lot of these. But here we go. Number 1, we've already talked about words. Right. Say it a lot. Say it often. Say it many ways. Men, don't just say, well, I love you. Finish the sentence. I love you more than. Men typically, I've come to realize, have a hard time finishing that sentence.
Right.
Women typically less hard of a time.
Typically, but it all depends on your personality.
Or I love you like what? I had one guy it was a Valentine's banquet or something we were speaking at, and we gave him an exercise to do, and it had to do with finishing a sentence like that. And we had him writing it, and he wrote, I love you more than, and we put a blank there. And when they came back to the table, his was fishing. I love you more than fishing. And when he read it, I thought, oh, come on. But his wife lit up
because he
like
knew,
a candle. She knows how much he loved fishing.
Yeah.
And so for him to write that was fantastic.
Right.
So words. Secondly, touch. Not just, we're not talking about just sexual touch,
but it includes
in the act of marriage, but it includes sexual intimacy, but holding hands and just watching TV cuddled up together or something where touch, man, is so important. I think of how many ways the Lord touches our life by his Spirit. And we use that language, right?
Right. Oh,
man, the Lord just touched me today.
Because you feel it. You feel the closeness.
The presence of the Lord, right? So touch is a way we communicate love. And it's primary to some people.
Oh, for a lot of people it is.
Maybe people
I would say this is one of the most primary love languages there is.
Well, for a lot, it is. You're right.
Yes, it is.
Things done. I think others might call this acts of service, but I like just call it things done. In other words, the things that I can do for Charlene that make her life better or easier is another way to communicate love. And vice versa, the things that she does. And there is so much that she does for my life that just communicates love. She doesn't, at times, that's not words, that's not touch. It's just something she has done, which is so common.
Well, since I'm a things done person.
That is big to you, right?
And so it cracks me up when I look back at our 47 years together. And even before when we were dating, I would always want to do things for you. Always. I always did things.
Okay, so let's explore that for a second.
I always did things for my parents because I wanted to show them how much I loved them,
Yep.
So I get married and I want to do things for you.
And see, this is what's important to understand. Why you're hitting on something crucial to understand here. Why is that? Because it's the language you speak. Look, I didn't, growing up, I didn't speak English, but only understand Chinese.
Right.
In other words, we comprehend the same language we speak.
Right.
So if Charlene speaks things done, she's always wanted to do that. That's the way she's telling me she loves me. Then I better be smart on the uptake. What that tells me is that that's also what she understands.
Right.
So I need to get really busy.
Right. And you're not a things done kind of guy.
No.
No.
I probably am a touch guy.
Well, probably so.
Particularly for many years in our younger marriage.
Yes,
absolutely.
Definitely.
So things done is a third one. Fourthly, gifts, the giving of gifts.
And you know what I want to include on this, because I do enjoy gifts, but I don't enjoy like birthday and Christmas gifts, which they're fine, those are obligatory gifts. To me, gifts are you took time out of your busy day and you thought of me. And actually, the less expensive, the better for me, if you know me.
The more thoughtful.
The more thoughtful is what sometimes I think this gift giving is about. It's like, you know me so well that you would take time out of your day to think of me and know that I would like that cookie from Smith's.
Right.
And that you stopped and went and got it for me.
Yeah. And what? It's 95 cents, you know.
Well, and the thing is, it's not the gift.
Right.
It's the thought. And
isn't that true?
It is so true. Well, that is me. I think that a lot of people that do speak this language gifts, it's more the thoughtfulness than it is actually the gift.
You know, let's do an interlude right here. Well, how do you define what a person's primary love language is? Because all these, I like you.
No, I like
communicating
all of
love in all of them.
I want all of these.
But at various times, I have a primary.
Yeah.
Right. There's one that I resonate with more than the others.
I think it's the one that you do the most, that you want to do for your spouse when you're feeling that you love them and you want to communicate.
Okay.
I think that's how you would know. Mine, of course, is things done, because I would want to go wash your car.
Right.
I would want to do your laundry.
Yeah.
I would want to make you a dinner. Yeah. I would do things for you.
Yeah.
I know that is my primary love language. Yeah. Definitely.
One of the ways,
but I like all of them.
One of the ways, if you struggle to identify your partner's love language, one of the ways is to think of it like this. I think we've said this to many couples. What could you do? What language could you apply to them when they're at their most down moment? They're frustrated. They're concerned about something. They're weighted down with life. They're they're out of gas. Right. They're out of gas.
Worst day ever.
That takes them almost immediately from there to, wow, this day just got
life
awesome.
Is good.
Right. What would it be?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's setting them down and just hugging them on the couch, telling them life's going to be okay. Sometimes it's words. Sometimes I need to get busy. Shawnee's overwhelmed with chores and things that her life is about. I need to take some weight off. For me, often it would include lovemaking and intimacy, and that touch made my life like, this day just got awesome. Right. So if I struggle to identify at any given time what your spouse's love language is, just think of it like that.
Right.
What would turn their crank right now and take them from a really terrible day to something awesome?
And you should know them that well. And if you don't know them that well, then you need some communication skills there.
Yep.
You should know them that well. And especially in premarital, you need to really figure out what this love language thing is for your spouse.
Because, and this is our promise to you, theirs is not yours.
Right.
You speak French,
Too bad, huh?
They speak Spanish. If you're not careful, you can go a whole lifetime and them never know how much you love them, because you're saying it in only a way you understand it, but not in a way that in their native language or a primary language.
And I heard people say, "Oh, they should know I love them. They should know that." It's like, but yet they don't.
Yeah.
But they don't. And you can get defensive about it, and you can try to justify and rationalize it all that you want, but you have not communicated to them the way that they can understand.
You've been communicating.
Oh, yeah.
And you've probably been trying to say it, but just not in a language they
understand.
You have to get multilingual.
Right.
We all do. Right? And it changes. That's the hard part here. We've been married 47 years, and at various times, Charlene's primary love language has been each of these at various times. And that's what I mean. This keeps you on your toes, man.
Exactly.
2 more to go. Okay, so let's go. The first 4: words, touch, things done, getting active, making their life better, gifts. Number 5, self-denial and sacrifice. I am a firm, I've said this over and over again. The same as we understand the love of God for us, even though when we were sinners, Christ died for us. So the sacrifice came and we were undeserving of it. That's how I know I can measure God's love for me. The only way Charlene will ever know how much I love her is through what I'm willing to give up, what privileges or rights I'm willing to lay down for her. And I'm not always great at this. We are selfish human beings.
Yep.
And I can be as much as anyone, but she'll never really get a hold of how the depth of my love for her, only by what I've been willing to sacrifice for her sake, for her highest life possible.
I'm thinking back over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I've needed some things done around here that have been put off for many years, literally. And I keep, Kenny's not the most, I don't mean this bad, but you're not the most, oh, I see that, and let's get to it and let's fix it. And I want to fix things. I want to get them fixed. And so we've had a couple, 3 or 4 things, and I've just been, okay, this needs to get done. It needs to get done, needs to get done. I don't want to do it. And I know he doesn't want to do it. And so not long ago on a weekend, we just went through the list. Things done. I said, okay, now let's do this. And you're going, I remember you looked at me and go, do you really want to do that today? And it's like, no, but it needs to be done.
Yeah, it's 7:00 at night, and we got a broken pocket door in our hallway, and it's like, okay, time to take off the door trim and rip it apart.
There's never a good time.
I'm going, really?
So right anyway, we get through this weekend, we get all these things done that I wanted done for the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm telling you, I know it wasn't fun for him. He didn't do it as gleefully as I maybe would have loved for him to do.
But man, I knew it was important.
But he did it, and since then I've been like, thank you. That really meant a lot to me. I realize you sacrificed your weekend
and things done. That's
yes.
what I mean. There's a lot of crossover with these.
It is.
But it spoke volumes
it does.
to you, and I knew it did. I knew it would.
It would. Yeah. It did. And I appreciate that.
And, in the end, I like getting that stuff done too. I feel gratified,
You're just not as motivated as I am to get things done.
No, I'm not.
No.
And then lastly, and this is a big one, I think this might be where all couples kind of land as we grow older together, is quality time.
I don't think it can be sacrificed. Quality time cannot be sacrificed.
No. Do you remember, we'll leave you guys with this thought. We were married 12 years, I want to say. And we really had not, once we began to have our children, there were many years there in those 12 that we just didn't get away. We were never alone. We didn't have a night or two together. And Charlene's mom and dad wonderfully came and said, look, it's your anniversary. We want to keep the kids for
a week.
We'll come into the house, keep them in their school routines, make their lunches, and you guys just go away for your anniversary. And we went away, and it had been so long, and we completely reconnected.
Right.
It was
right. It changed our lives.
It really did. We came home going, okay, what have we learned here? We can never go more than 1 year without doing this again. I don't care what it costs, what we have to do, but
who we have to sell.
No. Yeah, that's right. Where we give our kids away, I don't know, but we're going again. And we did every year anniversary. We begin saving money the day we got home from one, and we'd save for a year. $10 a week or $20 a week or whatever we could put in a jar, right? So that we could have this quality time. And man, we'd look forward to it for months.
The one advice I would give every young married couple, never, ever go over a year without quality time away.
And let's define quality time. Sitting down watching a movie together,
not quality time. Yeah,
but not quality time.
No.
It's being together, probably without a bunch of technology going, talking, walking, sharing life together.
No, what it is communicating all these ways.
All these things, yes.
All these love languages for that solid week is what we did.
Yeah.
And it reconnected us like we had just fallen in love.
Yep.
It was amazing.
It reminded, I think, both of us that we are well loved.
Well, it reminded us why we wanted to be together.
Yep. So let me go through them again. These are and each one, think of each one like French, German, Russian, Japanese, Chinese. Words, touch, things done, gifts, self-denial, sacrifice, and quality time. Anything you do anything that I ever do where Charlene goes, wow, he loves me, is going to be classified in one of those 6 or a couple of them with a little crossover. So keep that in mind. And again, some of the thoughts, just to toss in on top, is I don't know, honey, can you think of any couple we've ever encountered in all these years where they both spoke the same love language?
I have not.
Nope, me neither. Which means you got a French person married to a Japanese person, and both people have to become bilingual, right? They do change. The stresses of life and the changes in life can bring change where all of a sudden things done becomes more important.
Right.
When we were early married, gifts was Charlene's clear love language as a couple of 19-year-old kids. You throw 3 kids in the mix pretty quick, and pretty soon, trust me, that love language changes to things done.
And quality time.
And quality time, really fast. Mine remained touch. That's how I really comprehended love and felt loved for many, many years. And then as careers change and you get busy and you're tired, and then quality time becomes really, really important.
You don't get a lot of it.
So there you have it. That's how to communicate love. It's a lifetime of learning. Charlene, you started out by saying you got to stay with a teachable spirit our whole life.
Our whole life. We don't grow.
And this is why.
We don't grow too old for this.
Right.
It's not childish things.
No.
These are things that are pivotal to have a wonderful, fulfilling marriage.
Right.
And you have to put in the homework and go to school.
And roll your sleeves up, go to work,
exactly
guys.
Right.
And you know what? Let's tie this lastly into your vow. When you marry, you're going to make a vow. The standard vow says, I promise to love you, honor you, cherish, no matter what, better, worse, and until one of us goes to be with Jesus. So in saying that, how in the world can you fulfill that promise if you don't understand the language they speak,
exactly right.
how they receive, how they understand and comprehend the depth of love for them, unless you, again, go to school, figure it out. It's going to be one of these love languages, and then you practice it, you speak it, you do it, right? This is what it takes to be one who really wonderfully communicates love and has a spouse that can say he or she loves me. They love me well, right?
Yep.
All right. That was fun.
It was. I love this one.
All right. Hey, God bless you guys. Thanks for checking in with us. Hope it helps. Until next time, remember, your marriage really does matter.
It does. Bye-bye.